Hello and welcome to Tech for Non-Techies, the only podcast that demystifies the fast-growing technology sector. I'm your host, Sophia Matveeva, Chicago-based MBA and tech entrepreneur. My aim here is to give you the skills, knowledge and confidence to find opportunities in the tech sector, whether that's through founding a company, getting a dream job, or bringing a fresh perspective to your work.
Hello, smart people. How are you today? It is a sunny morning in London and the sun always puts me in a good mood. This week, I taught my final class for 2021 at London Business School to my full-time MBA students. And some of them are listening to this podcast and using the episodes to sound well-informed in their job interviews, which I think is super cool. Hello, students. I miss you already. And I think we had a lot of fun in class together. Most people on the business side don't know as much about technology as the people who listen to this podcast. So literally, I just want you to know, just by listening to this show, you already stand out, whether you're going for job interviews or you're going for new client meetings. Literally, you're getting so much. And my dear smarties, because you're getting some useful insights from me, and I just want to ask you, if you're listening on Apple iTunes, then open up the Apple Podcast app right now and leave this podcast a rating and a review. I'm giving you all of this brilliant learning for free, so let's have a karma exchange. Not only will you feel excellent about yourself, you'll also help other smart people like you discover this podcast, which will make the world a better place, and you'll also be doing something good for me. So if you go and leave a rating and a review, I will be very happy. Now that you've done that, let's learn some things. If you're interested in tech, which obviously you are because you listen to this podcast, you are used to hearing about consumer-facing businesses. You're used to hearing about Apple in the news, you're used to hearing about Netflix, Tesla, TikTok, and so on. These companies are called B2C, so business to consumer. The business, Apple, makes a product and sells it to you, a consumer. That's why it's a B2C, business to consumer business. But my guess is that most of you work in business to business environment. In other words, the company you work for makes its money by selling its goods or services to other companies. And this is called B2B, business to business. In this podcast, you often learn about innovations that happen in B2C businesses, business to consumer. So, for example, you learn about design thinking, which is the core discipline that makes the apps on your phone super fun and sticky to use. Or you might learn about content algorithms, which Netflix uses to create personalized recommendations based on your viewing data. So when you open up Netflix, you end up binge watching a series for 8 hours. And you might be thinking, okay, well, all of this consumer innovation is great, but how on earth is it relevant to me? If you're working at, say, McKinsey or BCG or Goldman Sachs, you need to consult big corporations like banks on their digital strategies or their acquisitions of tech companies. And these clients, they're not focused on creating sticky content on their apps. And you might be thinking, okay, well, what am I doing here then? Well, I'm here to tell you that if you want to build product or lead innovation or advise on innovative acquisitions, it's consumer tech businesses that you need to learn from. In general, consumer-facing tech businesses are more innovative than B2B businesses. In general, it's consumer-facing tech businesses that are the trendsetters for literally the rest of the industry. And this is because of a concept called the attention economy. I wrote about this in the report that I co-authored with researchers from the University of Chicago. It's called Innovate But How? The Pragmatist's Guide to Growth in Business and in Life. You can buy the guide on the Tech for Non-Techies website, and I'm going to share a key concept from my work here. Also, because I love you, I've decided to share the key findings and the framework that we saw the largest and most successful companies use in their innovation efforts. But because I'm me and I don't like it when things are just boring and businessy, the framework comes with prompts on how you can use these innovation methods to new product development, to enter new markets, but also to make your personal life more exciting, because that's what I want for all of us. So it's a useful guide for business and for life, because honestly, I don't think you can separate one from the other. You can download the guide for free in the show notes or go to techfornontechies.co/innovation-guide. That's techfornontechies.co/innovation-guide. So let's get back to the attention economy. While it's obvious that Uber competes with Lyft, I want you to think about this. Uber also competes with Netflix, Facebook, Cadbury, Peloton, and Penguin Publishing. So for example, one evening I could be sitting at home and I might be thinking, well, should I go and see my friend? And so I might be thinking, shall I take an Uber or Lyft, or shall I take the subway, or should I walk? But then I might be thinking, I could stay home and relieve my boredom with social media, Facebook or Instagram, or I could relieve my boredom with binge watching, Netflix, or binge eating, Cadbury. Or instead, I could decide to stay in still and choose virtue instead of binging, and I could work out on a Peloton, or I could get into bed with a good book, which would be published by Penguin. But then, as I'm sitting there in bed reading my good book, I might get bored and get on Tinder, and well, we'll see where that goes. So I want you to see that because consumer-facing businesses are aware of their much wider competitive landscape, they have to be more innovative. And because they're more innovative, they are the trendsetters for B2B players. B2B companies tend to think about their competitive environment as literally competing against companies that provide goods or services that are similar to what they're doing. They are not thinking in the framework that I've just told you about. For the work that me and the researchers from the University of Chicago did for Innovate But How, we spoke to people who lead innovation at some of the world's largest companies in consumer and in B2B businesses. And we spoke to one person who leads innovation at an FMCG company, and he talked to us about the competition for share of throat and share of stomach. FMCG, by the way, stands for fast-moving consumer goods, and so that includes companies that make snacks and drinks and toothpaste, basically most of the stuff that you see on a supermarket shelf. The head of innovation at this large FMCG business that we spoke to knows that while we have all stuffed ourselves silly over the winter holidays, and let's be real, sometimes we do this to prevent using our mouth to tell our family members what we really think of them, or at least I've done that. So yeah, while we do that at Christmas or in America over Thanksgiving, it's not normally how we live. Our stomachs are finite. There is only so much chocolate we can actually eat. So remember the attention economy. This FMCG company's chocolate bars aren't just competing with chocolate bars. What else are they competing with? Think about this. They're also competing with fruit, but they're also competing with meditation apps. So in this way, this FMCG company is competing with Headspace and Calm, but also it's competing with keto diets. So it's competing with diet apps, but it's also competing with Tinder and Bumble and basically all these other things that you might do to make yourself feel good. So let's extrapolate it to the next point. Is chocolate competing with masturbation? I would say so. So you see, for consumer-facing companies, the competitive environment is much, much wider. So you have to think on a much, much wider scale, which means that consumer-facing companies have to be more innovative and also borrow ideas from a much wider landscape. So if you're working on a B2B business, then I suggest that you learn from consumer-facing businesses. Learn about great user experience design from Bumble. Learn about effective algorithms that pull you in and keep you there from TikTok. Learn about product management from Facebook. Whatever you say about the company, their product managers are very, very smart. Here is an example of how Barclays, a big old bank, applied lessons from the attention economy to their business. So Barclays has their investment bank, but they also have a consumer-facing business. And the consumer-facing team at Barclays did an exercise where they asked frontline employees what the bank should look like in 8 years. And by the way, frontline employees are the bank tellers and the people who work in bank branches, not the people sitting in the fancy Canary Wharf HQ. So because frontline employees are not corporate overlords, they are much closer to the consumer. They're literally in the bank garage. And so these frontline employees came up with attention economy ideas. They were inspired by ideas from other B2C companies. For example, one of the suggestions that these frontline employees came up with is that they asked, well, if Domino's Pizza can track customer orders, why can't we, Barclays, why can't we help borrowers stay up to date with the progress of their loans? And this exercise helped give birth to new digital products and platforms within Barclays. And you can read more about this particular innovation at Barclays in a book called Open Strategy by Stadler, Houtz, Matzler, and von den Eichen. So, my dear smart person, when you are looking at the apps on your phone, pay attention to what works. What does this app do well? What draws you in? And then think about how you can apply those lessons from this consumer app, from this consumer tech business, and then see how you can apply lessons from this consumer business to whatever you're working on. If you want to learn more, then check out the free guide that I've created on Innovate But How, the pragmatist guide to growth in business and in life. You can get the framework for free, and you'll also go through a bunch of questions that will help you make some changes in the products you're working on in business and in life. And you can get this for free in the link in the show notes and at techfornontechies.co/innovation-guide. And remember, my darlings, if you learned something new today, this is your chance to tell me. Open your podcast app right now and leave a rating and a review. I would love to hear from you. And to take your learning deeper, then come and join me as a member at Tech for Non-Techies. You will get monthly coaching sessions with me to help plot your path and stay on track. You'll also have access to masterclasses with global experts, so you can ask them your questions and expand your network. And literally, you can't get access like this anywhere else. So the people that you hear speaking on this podcast, they come to speak to our members. And a lot of what you don't hear is actually the conversations that members have with these global experts. So literally, you cannot get access like this anywhere else. Our members also get access to a huge content library and learning notes on key aspects of technology like AI, product management, and the app economy. And our members are obviously smart people. They include alumni of Harvard, Oxford, and of course the University of Chicago, people who are buying companies, building businesses, and leading innovation. So Tech for Non-Techies, they're a pretty impressive bunch, and I like them. So come and join us. You can join us at techfornontechies.co/membership, and the link is in the show notes. That's it for now, my dear smart people. Have a fabulous day, and I will be back in your lovely ears next week. Ciao.